Today we're going to be making a workbench out of 2x4s, or the Australian equivalent, which is 90 by 45. So simple design here. We're just using a few different cut lengths. It's got the side braces, I guess you could call them. We've got 6 of those, 3 which are going along the width. For the legs, we're just going to use 2 lots of the 2x4, which are going to be glued and screwed together. We've got a couple of optional braces here as well, which we might put on at a later stage. This is where the bench is going to be going. We've got that power outlet, and we want the top of the workbench to be below the outlet. We're also going to make sure we have it going the entire width of that wall. So we'll need our circular saw, our drill, as well as the straight cut jig for the circular saw, which we made in a previous video. So as I don't yet have a bench, we're cutting on the ground, so we've just got a couple of pieces of timber there to get that timber off the ground. And we're just measuring up the length of our legs to start with. The advantage here is you can make things exactly whatever length and height you need. We're just using that square to make sure that we get a square cut across with the circular saw. And you do that many times, total of 8 legs as they combine up for each of the legs. Give it a bit more rigidity. We'll have a look at everything we've cut here. So the ones which are going the width, as well as those braces that go from front to back. And for the top, we're using 18mm ply. And we're going to put on 2 layers, as I'm after a very sturdy top of the bench at a reasonable price. So after this first cut, I then need to cut this piece of ply into 2, and I did base the width and dimensions of the table on the width of the plywood that I had as well. So with that cut in half, we've got 2 equal sheets of ply for the top. Then at the back you can see all the 2x4 cut up for the legs, going for the width. We've just got a dry fit here with the 2x4s on the bottom, sheet ply on the top, and then we'll just clamp it up. So throughout this process, before we make any screwing, before we drill any holes I should say, we're going to make sure that everything is square, and then we'll glue it up. So don't be afraid of using your square, keep knocking it into place as you go, as you can only do this once. And of course, I wish I had more clamps. Then I realised it does need to be elevated slightly so I can get the drill into the correct position in order to put a few holes in. And that meant it threw everything out of square as well. So we needed to square everything up yet again. It's an ongoing learning process. So these are the wood screws we're going to be using. You want those screws to be nice and flush. Next we'll do a bit of work on the legs. So you can see on the face here, there's a bit of damage. It is framing timber after all. So we'll place those marked sides against each other, clamp everything up, and then we're going to be drilling and screwing. So once again, when we're clamping the legs into place, we're going to use the square. Make sure everything is at those 90-degree angles. So for each of the legs, we're putting in 2 sets of holes. We're making sure they are at different heights as well, so we don't want those screws clashing. And everything is slowly starting to come into place now. So still bracing for the back, and as we're going to be clamping this up, we're going to be checking those legs, making sure they're square yet again, as it is another chance to fix things up. Then finally we'll just need to put that bracing on the side as well, and yet again another chance to get things square. And of course the screws run out with only half a dozen or so screws remaining in the project. Always the way. So we've got the frame all done now, we just need to put the top into place. So we're going to have our 2 layers of ply on top. Square things up, clamp it all down nice and tight before we start drilling and putting the screws in. Just going to make some marks, as I do like to have all the drill holes lined up perfectly. And also making sure just to slightly offset them from the other screws, as you don't want those screws hitting each other. And often I hand finish the screws, get them all nice and flush, as you don't want those sticking out and ruining your projects. So we're using those other existing screws in the side as a guide, because we know that there are those braces going across there that we're going to then screw down into. We want this thing to be solid. Now, looking very nice. You can finish it off if you want to, but this is a workbench. It's going to get dirty for me. So it's going to stay raw just like this, at least for the time being. And it is very solid. Extremely happy. It's the start of the new garage workshop. It's the 2x4 workbench. Hope that you enjoy. Links in the description.